I was at a loss of words. I know that is hard to believe with a guy like me, but I was trying to figure out what part of Emily's recent stupidity do I go at first. Then you have to decide what aspect do you want to take in responding to this level of spite. So I spent most of last night researching information and trying to piece it all together in some nice fashion. So forgive me for taking so darn long to do this. Emily has done another of her famous changes in belief and magic. She used to honor Thor, according to her, and was going to devote herself to Weather Wicca. She then went on talking about this Protestant non-fundamentalist Trinitarian Universalism, but that only lasted a couple weeks. Lately, she has started a spew about Christian powwow hexology stuff and shown us more of the ignorance and hate that dwells deep inside her. If she wants to believe in something, I would not care. Every person has the right to believe in what they feel is right for them. However, Emily is turning this into a circus event. She makes a series of claims and attacks people. This, of course, violates my rules of respecting others. She has repeatedly called other people following the craft as fake witches. If she doesn't like people, fine. She should have kept it to herself. Social media is a bad place to fling out your personal gripes if you're not ready to handle it. Emily has decided to believe that you can perform Christian prayers, aka magic, and it's all well and good as long as you devote it in God's name. She has even referenced a couple books to support her beliefs. I shall begin with describing her books of reference, according to Amazon.com. Long Lost Friend. You're holding in your hands the most famous book of magic written in America. Originally published in 1820 near Reading, Pennsylvania, this text is a work of immigrant Johann Georg Hoffmann, a collection of herbal formulas and prayer and magical prayers. The Long Lost Friend draws from the traditional folk magic of Pennsylvania Dutch customs and powwow healers. This is authentic American folk magic at its best. Household remedies combined with charms and incantations to cure common ailments and settle rural troubles. The most well-known grimoire of the New World. This work has influenced the practices of hoodoo, Santeria, paganism, and other faiths. In this, the definitive edition, you'll find both the original German text and the 1856 English translation, more than 100 additional charms and recipes taken from the pirated 1837 Skipgapville's edition, and others. In other words, they stole shit. Extensive notes on recipes, magic, Pennsylvania Dutch customs, and the origin of many of the charms. Indices of general purposes and ingredients. Explanations of the specialized terminology of illnesses. Whether your interest lies in folklore, ethnobotany, magic, witchcraft, or American history, this classic volume is an essential addition to your library. Oh, wow. Amazon really piped that one up, didn't they? Magic was referenced many times in this brief statement about this book. And as many of you know, prayer is a form of magic, aka witchcraft. Making claims that it matters which god you are referring to is silly. Magical prayers is a whitewashed version of saying incantations. The same concept of herbal medicine found in this book would be found in witchcraft books. So someone wrote a book of magic and wrote it to get it past Christian fundamentalists of the time. That's what this is. The next book is Hex and Spellwork. In Pennsylvania, Dutch country, among the Old Order Amish and strict Mennonite congregations who live in their lives parallel to modern society, there remains the remnants of one of the oldest European magical practices found in America, hex, or Hexenspellwerk, or powwow. In Hex and Spellwork, third generation Hexenmeister Karl Hare teaches the actual practices and examines the history of Swiss German traditions from which hex and powwow are derived. Hexwork echoes the magical arts that reach back to the earliest beginnings of human civilization, evoking it to assist people in health and earthly prosperity and to achieve what they legitimately desire in life, or to counteract the negative spell of a witch. Hex is positive magic, never used for evil. Hexwork is firmly founded in the Christian religion, with a liberal dose of Swiss German folk superstition. The Bible is a great reference, great influence on all hexwork, which originates in the Gospel of Matthew, where Christ insists that all people of good heart and a pure soul can perform miracles. Karl Hare is bound and determined not to let the oral tradition of hex vanish from the face of the earth. Among the many practices he's written down in this book are verbal charms of healing, considered by many to be the folk prayers, the magic of stones, and other natural objects, folk remedies such as dried chickweed to stave off colds. Discover hymnbriefs, heavenly letters written either to God or to gain the assistance of someone who is in heaven, plus instructions on creating hex signs, and can be used to reduce anxiety and control spiritual forces. Oh my gosh. Wow. It's funny because, what this Karl Hare is doing is basically what Gerald Gardner did with Wicca. Gerald Gardner wrote a book and created Wicca. It was a collection of different magic rituals and customs, and he named it Wicca. Karl Hare here is doing the same thing. He's taken a whole bunch of customs, traditions, superstitions, thrown them together and say, this is hexology, man. All right. Now, this book is full of misinformation. In the opening statement, they mention the Amish and Mennonites. Well, in my research, the Amish refused to use hexes. So how can you claim a long tradition when a group refuses to do what you claimed? Here's a part of my research. Indeed, the earliest documented hex signs on barns date back to the later half of the 19th century. Perhaps because barns weren't generally painted at all much before 1830. But it wasn't until around 1940 that painters started making hex signs that could be purchased and mounted on barns and other buildings. Visitors to the area wondered what these colorful decorations meant. They soon started to appear on tourist literature and on products made in the area, becoming an easy way to identify the food and product as coming from the Pennsylvania Dutch region. Meanwhile, Various novels and stories about the area tended to emphasize and exaggerate many customs of the Pennsylvania Dutch, often pairing the Amish and hex signs together. For example, the Broadway musical Plain and Fancy even had a scene in which an Amish man put a hex on his neighbor's barn. Interesting. The Amish did not adopt the custom of decorating their barns and do not use hex signs to this day. Then there is mentioning that it is a counter to negative spells of a witch. Most cunning folk didn't use their skills to harm others. Most were there to help and heal. By categorizing all witch spells as negative, it is clear that the writer of this book is close-minded and hateful. Fundamentalist Christians live by the Christian duality. It is either for God or against God. Since most magical practices do not invoke God, it is considered evil. And that is basically what Emily is doing now. So, this is an absolute reflection on Emily as a person. Emily is a weak-minded person that desperately needs to feel superior in her life. So by adopting this mindset and beliefs, she is telling people like me that are witches, we are second-class people. She has placed herself above us and wants to judge us. Such is shown in her video telling people to become Hexenmeisters. She believes that she is better than everyone else, and that is a load of crap. She denounced witchcraft, an act to say that it is beneath her, that witchcraft is what bad people use. But here is another point where Emily doesn't know what she's talking about. She claimed to use biblical definitions of witchcraft. During my research, I went to a Bible history site ran by Christians, and it stated this. Since the idea we attach to witch and witchcraft were unknown in Bible times, the words have no right place in our English Bible, and this has been recognized to some extent, but not completely, by the revisers of 1884. The word witch occurs twice in the King James Version, namely in Exodus 22:18, thou shalt not suffer a witch. The Revised Version, British and American, a sorceress to live. The second is Deuteronomy 18:10, or a witch. The Revised Version, British and American, or a sorcerer. Later in the article, which I will have the link down below, it states, the plural witchcrafts in the King James Version and the Revised Version, British and American, stands for the Hebrew noun just noticed, kishphashim, K-E-S-H-A-P-H-I-M. And 2 Kings, Micah, and a couple other verses. But in all three passages, a proper rendering would be sorceries or magical arts. Witchcrafts is inaccurate and misleading. I will have that link listed below. So Emily, your source material is biased and hateful. Just like your books, you are twisting the meaning of witchcraft to fit your pathetic needs. You are trying to and failing to establish an ideal where you are better than others. You have called people fake witches, claimed to be a born witch. Anyone can be a witch, and now witchcraft is a sin. Your words have no value except for the hate that is inside every stuttered word that comes out of your mouth. This is just video number 1. Thank you.